So we've talked about ideas and organization as traits of writing, and now we are talking about voice as the third trait. Um, Voice is a little bit easier to talk about and explain now that we have studied tone in literature. So voice and tone are very similar. Voice is the tone of the work. It often reflects the writer's personality. Voice relates to the author's attitude about the topic, and the voice helps to establish a connection with the reader. Voice doesn't always reflect the writer's personality because sometimes you are required to write a certain type of paper. Like, for example, you're required to write a research paper. Well, a lot of times the voice of a research paper is very formal, and that might not be your personality, but you have to sound formal. Your voice has to sound formal and your tone has to be formal in order to be convincing and professional when you're writing a research paper. But other times, if you're doing creative writing, your voice can definitely reflect your personality or the personality of the narrator, the person who is expressing the thoughts. So voice is a writer coming through the words, the sense that a real person is speaking to us and cares about the message. A lot of times the reason that you get drawn into fictional stories is because the narrator, especially if it's like a first-person narrator, is a character who has such a neat personality that you love reading what they have to say. Voice is the heart and soul of the writing, the magic, the wit, the feeling, the life and breath. So that's a way of saying that without a specific tone to your writing, or without at least putting some consideration behind what your tone should be and making an attempt to gear your genre toward a certain voice, then there's definitely going to be something lacking for the reader. So when the writer is engaged personally with a topic, he or she imparts a personal tone and flavor to the piece that is unmistakably his or hers alone, which is why I told you when we started, one of the reasons why you need to make sure that you pick a topic that you are very interested in and passionate about, because it is a lot easier to write with an intriguing voice when you are engaging with your topic, and you will engage with your topic more if you're interested in it. So you can leave a mark that's different from any other writers, and that will help to distinguish your voice. When you are thinking about your voice, when you're crafting your writing, you should always consider your audience and your purpose for writing, because those will help you to decide what your voice should be. So who's listening to you, and what are you trying to do? Are you trying to persuade? Are you trying to inform? Are you trying to entertain? Are you trying to compare and contrast? Are you trying to brainstorm solutions? Are you requesting your money back? So make sure that you choose a tone that is appropriate for the audience and purpose. If you, for example, are going to write a letter and request money back for a defective product, if you sound very angry and defensive and narcissistic, meaning it's all about you and you don't really care about anyone else, then the people who are on the receiving end of your letter will probably be a little bit less receptive to actually give you your money back. Whereas if you take on a voice that is more professional and matter of fact, and this is what I paid, and this was the date I bought it, and this is the warranty it has, and this is what happened, may I please have my money back, making a respectful voice, then you're going to get what you want. It's more likely that you'll get what you want. So some examples of voice. If you're writing a research paper, this is pretty standard. Your purpose, if it's an argumentative paper, is to persuade, and the audience, in our case, is the class. So your tone should be described as formal, factual, professional, knowledgeable, and persuasive. And that's if you're writing a research paper. Now, a lot of your genres might be creative pieces. So if that's the case, Your purpose might be to teach, like we talked about, you should be teaching the audience something through each of your pieces, so that would be one of your purposes. You might also be trying to entertain and also to express emotion throughout that piece, like the Krate that we read about the ecstasy and the effects it has, and then the person who died, there was an element of emotion tied into the voice of that Krate. So your audience would be the class, and the words that you could use to describe the tone are just endless here. You could say that you are going to attempt to write with a frustrated voice, a sarcastic voice, a whimsical voice, a silly voice, a depressed voice. The sky is the limit. And a lot of times with creative pieces, you can characterize them as having an informal voice because you're not trying to sound all formal like you would in a research paper. So I just want you to look at this meme and think about what word would you use to describe the voice here. It says you lost your phone and it's on silent. Too bad. If you liked it, you should have put a ring on it. So what word would you use to describe this? If you need a minute to think about it, pause the video before moving on, because I'm going to give you some suggestions after each meme, but I just want you to put some thought into it first before you look at my suggested responses. And there's not a right answer, so there's different things you could put down here. Okay, so you could describe that meme as informal, because it's a meme, as clever, because it is witty, tying in the song lyric there, or you could also describe it as critical, because he's saying he's judging you for losing your phone when you had it on silent. Okay, another one here. How would you describe this meme? I wonder if clouds ever look down on us and say, hey, look, that one is shaped like an idiot. There's a little clue down here in the corner. You could use one word you could use to describe the voice would be sarcastic. Also, you could say that the voice is contemplative, meaning he is being sarcastic, but he's also really thinking about this. And if you're thinking about something, you're contemplating it. So contemplative would be an adjective. Okay, how about this one? You mean to tell me spoons don't actually sound like airplanes? Okay, so some possibilities here. Again, informal because it's a meme. And also maybe disbelieving, like this baby has been duped this whole time and thought that the spoon was the one making the airplane noise. How about this one? How am I still breathing if she has my nose? You could say informal. You could say confused or bewildered would describe the voice here. And how about this? What if one day Google was deleted and we couldn't Google what happened to Google? Oh my goodness. Okay, you could say that this one, again, is informal, but also maybe unintelligent because this is just, it's just stupidity, I think. Okay, so I think this is the last one I have on here. How would you describe the voice in this meme? But the cat gets to poop in the house, and notice how he's hanging his head here. You might describe this meme as depressed or shunned in terms of the voice, and I would say that this one, the speaker is the dog, which is a little bit unusual, but his voice sounds depressed and shunned in addition to informal. Okay, so I have a little video here to end with, but I just want you to remember that before you sit down and write your piece, or if you have already done one, you could always look back and see if you had a clear, if you can clearly describe the voice that you use to write that piece. And before you write your future pieces, make sure that you have an intention or a goal as to what you want your voice to sound like.
As you use your voice in writing, think, who is gonna read this? How shall I sound so my readers best can heed this? It needs to sound committed, engaging, it's sincere, expressing my own self like I've got something I want you to hear. You in particular, the audience in mind. A different audience would bring a voice of a different kind, and I communicate and bring my topic to life with honesty, conviction, and humor for some spice, and it's original. This comes from me myself. Voice is not from someone else's book up on the shelf. How do you want your readers to be? Show some interest in the topic and let it seem real. Your voice gives your writing personality and spice. If it sounds like you know you got it just right.